What's up, everyone? This is JC Campos over here, round one at Latin Evolution Radio. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm telling you, this is going to be a blessed show. This is going to be a crazy, crazy show right now. You don't know who I have here right now. You know, of course, you guys know because I posted all over my social media. You know, I mean, it's such a blessing. I feel such a, I'm so humble right now to have somebody like who's going to blow your mind away with his story. And I want to thank everybody who's tuning in right now, everybody who's been sharing this and has been sharing all my shows and everything. You know, I mean, we're really happy to have you here in my show right now here too. And Latin Evolution Radio. Don't forget to download the app. I'm telling you. You know, thank you to everybody. I know those guys who follow me from Wisconsin to Miami, Dallas, Texas. You know, my homies from Dallas, Texas. Thank you so much. You know, every week tuning in too. You know, I mean, everybody from North Dakota too, and everybody who's listening to Latin Evolution Radio. Guys, you are here in round one, and I'm telling you, we're here to break and make a lot of noise right now. And today, I'm telling you, I feel so humbled to have my boss. I'm telling you, a guy who's like, you know, I mean, have a wonderful story, and you know, I mean, Latino too. So you know, 100%, that's cool, man. You know, mi raza, you know, fuerte ahí. But I'm telling you, man, it's a blessing to have somebody who's gonna blow your mind away with the story. You know, David Rodriguez, guys. You know, guys, I'm telling you, it's awesome to have you here, David.
Thanks,
What's going on, man? What's going on with you? Talk to me.
Glad to be here. Glad to join. Heard so much about it. Ready to see what this is all about.
I'm telling you, man, it's a blessing to have you on the show. I'm telling you, I feel so humbled to have you with me here. I know, you know, we talked for weeks to being here. You know, I know you've been busy, you know, playing football, baseball with your kid. You know, I know you're coaching too, and you know, you told me last week, you know, like if we win, you know, we will come here, but you know, we were third place, yeah. You know, so you know, it was a lot of challenge, you know, when you had to coach your son. Is that right?
Yeah. I got a 9-year-old boy, David Jr., and 12-year-old daughter, Mia. I think they might be watching.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's been fun. It's been a fun experience.
And now you play football too.
I don't play football.
Okay.
No, I coach football.
You coach football, yes.
Playing football right now, and then tackle football starts up.
Okay, and that's for you both.
Yep.
That's nice. That's nice. So you're always in the sports too.
Yeah. I grew up in sports. You know,
that's nice.
One of the many things that, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about
today. Yes, and I know. I heard we're around one, so I know I know you did some boxing too.
A little bit, just a little bit.
That's awesome. But I know, guys, I'm telling you, you know, I mean, like David's gonna, like I said before, you know, the story of David, it's amazing. You know, he's a father. You know, he's a GM of 1044. To shout out to my people in 1044. I'm telling you, man, if you're looking for the best cars, the best trucks, luxury cars, anything that you're looking for right now, you have to tell me. I'm telling you, we have the best inventory, and we keep buying inventory. I'm telling you, when everybody over there doesn't have inventory, we do have everything that you're looking for. So come and see us in T44. I'm telling you, and come and see it. If you don't like anything that we have, I'm telling you, we will find it for you. I'm telling you, we will find it. So come and see us over here at 1044. David, I know, you know, I mean, the GM, a Latino GM, something that we don't see every single day. You know, I mean, how proud are you of that?
Pretty proud of it. It's been a goal for me for a long time, and something I definitely recognized in the Twin Cities area. Coming up through the car business last, I think it's been 15, 16 years now. And, you know, you take a look around, and there was not a lot of minorities, period, in management positions. So it was always a goal of mine to break through that barrier, just be the, you know, first one, second one, third one, whatever it was. I didn't think there was enough representation, so it was important to me to get to that level.
And tell you, as a Latino, I feel really proud of you. I feel, you know, that pride, you know, I mean, as a Latino, you seem like our Latinos, you know, I mean, like make it to the big lakes. You know, I mean, for me, you know, you're playing in the big lakes, man. You know, I mean, because I've been in the car business for over 20 years, man. I never saw somebody. I have my friend Paul Gomez too. I know he's watching us right now too. He managed. He did manage. He was the GM for Audi, and now he's the GM for Honda too in Florida. And you know, seeing you guys, you know, I mean, as Latinos, it's like, wow, man, it's amazing things to see. Something that we didn't see like 10 years ago. Yeah. You know, I mean, the accomplishment that when he told me, like, when I told me you were David, when he told me like you're David Rodriguez, I was like, no way. And I was like, that guy look white. And he's like, no, I'm third generation, second generation Mexican. You know, my parents came in, and that's really what I want to touch base. Yeah. You know, I want to go deep because in my show we go deep. Sure. You know, we want to go deep to see. I know people want to see, you know, people see the results, people see the fruit of the tree, but they don't see the process of the tree. You know, when you have to put the seed on the ground, the seed had to go to darkness, and you have to build a tree. Yeah. You know what I mean? tell us about the story about, like, I know how many people, I know your dad was a really good dad too, and you like, your humbleness. Tell me about and how's the process to succeed the way that you.
Yeah, it's a big question. There's a lot to unpack there, because really it starts at home with the family, right? Growing up, 2 brothers, mom, dad, good family. We had our ups, we had our downs, but we were raised to not ever give up, right? Work hard, use your head, be smart. There's a lot of lessons in life there that looking back on now. So as a kid, you think you're being scolded by your parent, right? Keep your head up, walk with purpose. Show everybody you're somebody when you walk in the room, right? Like I heard that when I was a kid, and always watch your back. Look out for people behind you. My mom was a sweetheart, and so just to clarify things, my father's 100% Mexican. My mother was half Irish, and the other half was, a few different things, but Caucasian, right? So I'm half.
So that's when you look Italian.
That's why I look Italian. Yeah. But all those life lessons that I had as a kid, as I got older, you start to realize, wow, they were right. Right. And I really had that turning point probably at 20, 21.
So that's what you're rough, because you're Mexican and Irish. What kind of mix is that, man? That's like a rough, man. Irish and Mexican, it's like fighters, man.
You asked my brother Corey. He was a professional boxer. He did pretty well. And had a really good career. And my dad coached him, and it was a good combo. It was fun. Wow. It was fun to watch, and it wasn't necessarily my thing. It wasn't there for me, but
that blood runs through you guys, huh?
Say it again?
That blood, the fighter blood runs for you guys.
Yeah, it's a big in my family. So on my dad's side of the family, excuse me, my dad's side of the family, he was one of 6 boys. 5 of his brothers were professional boxers. He was the only one that wasn't. So 2 of them are in the Minnesota Boxing Hall of Fame.
Oh, nice.
And it's rooted in the family. I'm one of 3 boys. My brother John, it wasn't a boxer. Me, it was, I was like 10 to 13. I was following my brother to the gym and hanging out with my dad. I wasn't, I never took it too seriously.
Big boy.
Yeah, for amateur, I don't know, it was 6, 8. But, to that point, it was tough for my dad. I can imagine, because I was not a very coachable kid, right? So, coach, I see these kids that, do a really good job listening to me. My wife's a teacher, so she's helped me with a lot of things over the years, and keeping kids under control is something I've learned from her. And you can watch their eyes, you have their focus. They're watching you, they're listening. It's get down, give me 10, let's go. And of the 15 kids, there's 13 that pop down, give you 10, bounce back up, they're ready to go. Then there's 2 that are like, well, why do I got to do this? Or hey, maybe can I do this to them later? And that was me. I was that kid, right? So I wasn't the best listener. I wasn't the most coachable kid, where my brother Corey was. So if he took off in boxing, I did not do well.
Wow.
It's tough for my dad. It was tough.
So you grew up as pretty much as a Latino in Irish family, So do you mind speak Spanish too, or no?
No.
So there was all English, but it was just different.
Yeah.
So your parents met here in Minnesota?
Yeah, it was all English at my house.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So my father was one of 13. Single parent, single mother, and so she was working all the time. Wasn't around a lot to teach the language to the kids. Kids kind of raised each other. They all kind of stuck together.
But you probably have a lot of familia from your dad's family.
Oh
right?
Man, I meet a new cousin every year.
Oh my gosh.
For real, there's people that pop up and it's like, cousin, and I'm like, yeah, that's right, cousin.
That's awesome. We're Latinos, man. We're a lot of people, man.
Yeah, one of 13, and all 13 boys and girls, they all had good families and decent sized families, and I think one of them had 2 kids maybe, but the rest of them had good sized families.
So you grew up in Minneapolis, is that right?
I grew up in New Hope.
Okay, New Hope.
Yep,
okay,
just outside Minneapolis.
Okay, so growing up as a Latino, because you still look a little bit brown, how was that growing up as a Latino here in Minnesota? Because I came from Florida.
Yeah. So in Minneapolis here, there's kind of the western suburbs. So there's Robbinsdale right outside of North Minneapolis, and Crystal and New Hope. So we're I think it was a maybe 10-minute drive, 15-minute drive into North Minneapolis. So not too far out, but far enough out where I was. There was another girl in my 2nd grade class. It was Nova Vera, that was Latina, and that was it. We were buddies. I think she might have been my girlfriend. I don't know. but that was it. There was a few African American kids, but I grew up in a pretty predominantly white neighborhood, which changed over the years. As I got to middle school, there was more minorities, Asians. You know, it was more of a melting pot. By the time I got to high school, it was a lot of it. And you know, I went to Cooper High School, and it was a lot of minorities, and a lot of people that come from there have that respect and understanding because we were friends. You know, again, I was in sports with a lot of people, so nobody cared.
Yes, of course. In sports, you know, it's just one blood.
Yeah, nobody cared. We were on a team together. We were brothers. We were rooting for each other. So you know, nobody really saw it. You know, so I have a really good group of friends that I'm still friends with. Golfed with them last night, a couple of guys that just didn't care. I didn't realize it until I got to college. Actually, I thought that this is just what life was. Going to college and visiting friends at like UMD or St. Cloud State, and it was like, you know, you start meeting kids from outside of the metro area that didn't understand diversity and had never seen a Mexican guy before.
Yes.
And I was the first one. It was, I don't want to say it was ever tough. I don't think I ever had a tough time. You know, I think all kids get called names here and there, so I don't know that I necessarily feel like I struggled with that, but it was there, you know. And again, one of the lessons, many lessons I'm going to talk about with my dad today, he always told you to watch out, be careful, you know, you're different, you look different, you know, your last name sounds different, and you know, so you were always watching for it, but it didn't necessarily like ever turn into like a racially motivated fight or anything. You know, it was nothing like that. Like, again, because of the diversity from middle school up, there were so many minorities that it was just normal. People didn't think anything of it.
Oh wow. No, it's pretty nice to know that, because, you know, I know not everybody goes through the same steps that you go through. You know, I know other people have struggles too, you know, me, and not everybody have a like easy ways too, you know. So I know that because I have so many interviews here. Some people who grew up here, they did have some hard times, you know what I mean? But it's nice that you didn't have that. But at the same time, you know, going to the car business. Why the car business? You know, I know, and I want to know the beginning, because when I went one time I was with you in one of the meetings, and you told me, you know what, you see, I remember like cleaning the offices and cleaning this and taking pride, because I want to understand too, like, you know, people see you as a GM, as a general manager, but they don't understand the process, how like you start from the get-go, you start from cleaning the offices, you know, like taking the trash out, you know, and the principles that make you successful.
Yeah,
you know.
So I started in the car business as a lot guy, lot technician.
So wow.
Parking cars, getting lunch for the boss, going and picking up his Harley at the store.
But how come the car business? You decide to go to the car business? You went to school. What do you went to school for?
I was going to school to be a finance major.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to. So there's a little bit of a path there, a little bit more of a story. So, you know, and one of the things I want to talk about is surrounding yourself with the right people. So I was fortunate enough to have my oldest brother that let me hang out with his friends. And some of his friends had done pretty well at this point in their life. One of them was the general partner of a hedge fund. I'm like, hey, I kind of need a job.
Your older brother?
My older brother's friend.
Okay.
Hey, I need a job. You need me just to like help out around the office. So I just kind of started. I don't even know if he paid me. It might have been $6 or $7 an hour. I have no idea what it was. I don't remember. But it wasn't much, and I just picked up what I could learn. And he was buying, selling stocks. So I kind of learned a little bit about that. I latched on to just really watch what was going around me, ask a lot of questions as I'm, you know, helping them with their computers or plugging in stuff here. Just, you know, again, surrounding yourself with the right people, ask questions, be a sponge, listen, absorb. So eventually I had to leave that company, and I needed a job. And while I was trying to finish my finance degree, I wanted to go to be a financial advisor. And this came up with offering the car business. There's actually a guy that I interviewed with for a service porter position, out of all things I could have been. And he's like, you know, I don't think you're right for this position, but I do know that we need a lot technician. So he referred me over to the general manager there. And next thing you know, I started as a lot tech. And, you know, I don't know why I chose it. I think it almost chose me. I think I do know. So before that, maybe a couple years before that, my mom bought a new car. And I got to go with her on her ventures to dealerships all over the metro to just try to find which one she liked. So I got to kind of see a lot of different dealerships and salespeople in the process and sales managers and kind of what was this like. I was 24 probably at the time. So I'm just looking around and watching this and going, yeah, I could do that, you know, and it's a little ego. It's a little chip on my shoulder that, you know, I've always carried, but, you know, I look at it and go, so this doesn't look like that tough of a job. So when I was looking for a job, I kind of gravitated towards the car business, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this finance thing. I'm going to be a financial advisor. That's what my goal is. And so, that's kind of how it started as a law guy, planning on finishing my finance degree. And then it just, the story from there is as I went to the general manager at the time was getting married. I went to his wedding. And I had on clothes from when I used to work at the hedge fund, right? So I had a suit, I had a tie and a shirt, and they, hey, you clean up well. Have you ever thought about selling cars? That was the conversation. And it was
what kind of brand? What kind of brand was it?
Chevrolet dealership.
Oh, Chevrolet dealership.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started a Chevy dealership, and I never really thought about selling cars at that time. And I kind of told him that, I don't know, I'm going to school, and there was a sales guy. And I won't say his name because I still know him and I'm still kind of friends with him. But he sold 20 cars that month.
Wow.
And one of the sales managers pulled me aside and said, did he really sell 20 cars that month? I'm just parking cars, pulling stuff up, just whatever. Did he really sell 20 cars last month? Yeah, he sold 20 cars. And guess what? He made $8,000 last month.
Wow.
And I went, wait, that guy? Like the guy that we play softball, that guy. I was on the softball team. Yep, him. And I always had a goal. I wrote it out when I was probably 17 years old. $8,333.33 per month. That's what I wanted to make. I had a goal written out on a sheet of paper. That's where I want to be someday.
You know what? I'm going to stop you there right now. I'm telling you right now, something that you said about the goals. It's so cool what you said right now because I was listening to Brian Tracy this morning, and he said something interesting. He said he said in fact, I brought it down. In fact, it says the best way to predict your future is to create it. And he said, if you don't write the goals, how much money you want to make per day, how much, what you want to accomplish, you will never accomplish anything. You know what I mean? And saying that stuff right now, you want $8,000 a month, it's the same thing that he was saying this morning. You know what I mean? He said, it's not about luck. Yeah. It's about the goals that you put. Is that right? Correct?
Luck is maybe 2% of it. Luck is you need to have luck. That's a part of it, right? But if you're banking on luck, it'll never happen. You can't bank on luck. You have to bank on hard work. So it starts with goals. It's just like if you want to lose weight, right? Like you want to lose 10 pounds.
Yes.
You can't just say, hey, I'm going to lose 10 pounds and not do anything. Right? It's a mindset change. You really have to change your mindset. You have to physically, mentally, somehow turn that gear in your head to say, I'm going to make this change. I don't want to be this person anymore. I want to be this person. Whatever that is, whatever you decide you want to make a change in your life, however you want to do it, you have to make that mindset change. You can't say, I'm going to lose 10 pounds and then continue to eat and not exercise, right?
Exactly, yes.
Like you have to change your diet. You have to exercise more. You have to probably sleep a little bit better. You got to drink more water. There's like steps to it, right? But it starts with a goal. It starts with a plan. If it's just an idea in your head, it's hard to make it happen. But if it's actually a goal or something that you write down, so I keep lists, a lot of lists. And sometimes those lists lead to things, right? Like you have lists here.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes you're like, hey, my end result was $8,333.33 a month. Because if you multiply it by 12, that's $100,000 a year. I thought if I can make $100,000 a year, I'm set. Like I'm rich, I'm loaded. That's what I want to be, someday when I grow up. That's important. That was important to me at the time. It doesn't have to be important for everybody, right? Like money's not everything. I get that. That's fine. For some people it is. Some people that's important. That's a motivator for somebody. That's the scoreboard, right? So sports. Here we go back to sports. Sports was a big part of my life growing up. The reason why we try so hard in sports is because there's a scoreboard.
Exactly. Yeah.
You either win or you lose, right? You're putting runs on the board or you're not. So if you're not keeping track of it, if you don't have something tangible to keep track of it, how do you really know? There's a lot of times in the car business when I get selling cars again, I don't need anybody to tell me how I did a good job. I'm that kind of guy. Hey, for better or for worse, love it or hate it, that's just a guy. I don't need you to thank me. I don't need my boss, the owner of the dealership, to tell me, hey, great job, right? I know it when I open up my paycheck and I see it. I go, that's a great job.
Exactly.
That's a good goddamn job last month, right?
Yes.
So, or you know what? That's not good. That's not good enough. I can't do that. It's my scoreboard. It's when you lose the game 1-0, like we lost our baseball game last week. We can look back at our scorebook and see that we had 9 backwards Ks. We had 9 strikeouts looking. You know what you can improve on, right?
And when you lose, Dave, because I know you probably lose in life too many things, because like not everything is about winning. For me it is. We want to win. It's part of life. But when we lose, what David Rodriguez do when you have a loss? Because I know you like scores and you don't like to put your goals and stuff like what. Because I know right now the society teaches that trophies for everybody, and I don't agree with that. I think we are handicapped our kids and our generations when you give trophies to everybody because not everybody's grateful in that point. What do David Rodriguez do when you lose and you didn't accomplish the goal that you have for any reason?
So, I always say you got to take it to the next level. You need to break it down. You can't just look at the scoreboard and say, "Man, that was a bad game," right? Well, why was it a bad game? What did we do wrong? What can we improve on next time? What do we have to practice so that this doesn't happen again? You can translate that to any business that you want. If it's real estate, car sales, sports, whatever it is. But when you look at that scoreboard at the end of the game, basketball, right? Like break it down by quarter, break it down by shot, break it down by 3-pointers, free throws. How many of these did we miss? It's all the stats that we see online that are easy or on TV about sports, right? Well, why can't we translate that to business? Why can't we translate that to what we're doing? Why can't we translate that to, if you work on an assembly line and your job is to assemble something, right? Like, why can't you break that down by hour for yourself? Hold yourself accountable if you want to reach new goals. So what you're referring to about the janitor job, I brought up in a sales meeting was that, again, another lesson from my father, right? Here comes another one, is that no matter what you do, be the best at it. If it means you're a garbage man, if it means that you're an executive somewhere, if it means you're somewhere in the middle, it doesn't matter what you do, be the best at it. So when I was emptying garbages, when I was in high school and like early in college, we went to this building down in St. Paul, and I used to time myself. I would look at the clock and go at this part, right? Make sure I tied every bag, I did everything right. I wasn't doing it, halfway, right? I was committing myself to making sure I did quality work, but I wanted to see how fast I could get done. And if I
it's about the pride that we take for everything that we do.
100%.
Is that right?
Well, and there was a competition for myself too. It helped the time go by a little bit faster. When you're just walking through this big office building and emptying garbages, I mean, you got to do something. This is like, I don't even think I had a Walkman or anything like that. There was no AirPods back then. You're just walking, whistling along, and I made it competitive. I wanted to keep score. I wanted a scoreboard. So I could break it down by room, how long it took me per room. If I knew this room was going to take 40 minutes, this room was going to take 20 minutes, how can I make this room take me 35 minutes and this room take 18 minutes? So I go in 6 minutes faster. So it's always going to that next level of detail. How can I break it down granular? How can I break it down to the simplest level so that I can manage those metrics rather than just looking at a score that says 1-0, right? I think that, and it is the taking pride in it too. It's 100% taking pride in what you do. If you take pride in it, you'll love it. If you love it, you'll want to be good at it. If you're just doing it because you think, hey, this is what I have to do to get by, you have to be there for 8 hours, 10 hours, in our case, 12 hours, right? A day anyway. So why not try as hard as you can? I got one story I want to tell about that.
No, yes, please tell us.
So I don't want to say where, but I was a manager at a store once, and I had one of the vice presidents of the company that was talking to me. And we were talking about inventory, and I was a sales manager at the time, and I would tell him that, when it got really slow at night, we worked until 9 at night, worked till 9. So when it got really slow at night from like 7 to 9, I used to just go through other dealers' inventories. And this is back in 2013, 14, when there was actually a lot of cars on this.
Oh my gosh, I remember those days.
200-300 cars on the ground, right? So I would go through some of these big dealers' inventories and just look, like, what are they buying? What are they ordering? What packages do they have? What trim yards do they have? What colors do they have? And I would build out spreadsheets and make it,
You know what? Every time I see him tell you, the more you talk, I think you're like the Moneyball guy. So detailed,
Well, you think about it, it's excuse me. You think about it, it's why not? Why would you go that far? If you want to be good at what you do, if you want to be successful, like it just doesn't just happen, JC. It's never going to just happen to somebody. If you're waiting for it to happen to you, it's not going to happen to you. You have to make it happen. You're gonna have to force the issue. It doesn't mean you have to be a bad person. It doesn't mean you have to roll over people. It doesn't mean you have to be underhanded or snaky or anything like that. Like, I'm very against that, right? You can do it the right way, but you have to work hard. You have to be detailed. You have to get outside your comfort zone. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Nice.
And so that story, I told the vice president, I just said, hey, from 7 to 9, I go in and break through these inventories, and I'm trying to figure it out. And he just starts smiling at me, like, of course you do. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, that's not normal. People don't do that. I said, well, why not? I'm just sitting here anyway. I mean, you're paying me to sit here. Another story from my dad. If somebody's going to pay you, make sure you give them 100% of your effort, right?
Of course, yes.
If you're going to be that person, you're lucky enough that they picked you, you better give them all you got. So, excuse me. I told him, I said, yeah, I'm doing this. What? Isn't that what everybody does? He goes, no, it's a car business. I was like, well, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? well, people don't, in the car business, it's, people don't really try all that hard. I said, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
So that's the moment that I figured out there's way more opportunity in this business than anybody's letting. There's some very, very intelligent, smart, good business people in this industry, but there's a lot of people that won't go that extra mile, that won't try that hard, that don't necessarily take pride in what they do. They'll tell you that they do. They will tell you all day long that they do. And once you get 30 days or 60 days of them working for me that I've seen over the years, it's like, yeah, okay. Right.
No, but it's such a cool thing, when every time, working for you and, and seeing you, you're not just in your office, you're always moving around. I see you in detail a lot, moving in the golf cart, walking, and seeing everything. You're everywhere. And that's, sometimes the GMs don't, in fact, today I was gonna, you were cleaning your car, by yourself, I was like, hey, let me give me a hand. I said, I don't need my help, I can't do it, So you know the extra.
Exactly what I said.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's say what I exactly what I said.
What do you say?
So do you think I'm too good that I can't clean my own car? Right?
Yes,
Isn't that what I said?
That's exactly what you say, yes.
Here's why. I do that on purpose every once in a while. Sometimes the detail staff takes care of my car for me, and that's awesome. I appreciate that. And I usually buy them lunch or do something like that. But the reason why I do that is because I want everybody to see that I wouldn't ask them to do something that I wouldn't do myself. I won't, right? So if it means picking up the call, making cold calls or warm calls, I've done it. I'll do it again. I wouldn't ask you to sit there and make cold calls all day, JC, if I wouldn't be able to do it myself. So sometimes I do that. Sometimes I go in there and I'll bring my own personal car in there. And I had my dress pants on and my, a nicer pair of shoes on, and I didn't care if they got wet. I didn't care if I ruined my pants, because at the end of the day, I was proving a point to everybody that was in that detail center. There was probably 8, 9 new people.
Yes.
Or 8 or 9 people, and I think 2 or 3 haven't seen me clean a car before. So I wanted to prove that point.
No, and it's nice to see it because, like I said before, I've been in the car business over 20 years, and you don't see the stuff often. They set out, general manager wanted to give the keys to somebody who is in the desk, and somebody go to detail. Yeah, you have to watch the GM, because I started detail. I remember that. I was a porter too, and then from porter went to detail, and then from detail, one of the salesmen told me, I think you'll be good in sales. Kind of story too. He brought me to sales, and I love it. I remember working for, David Moss Toyota in Florida. And they were Italians. They were like so rough, but I learned. I liked that way when they were like, what, this is the car business, and you can make good money. If you really like put an effort on it. But going back to David Rodriguez, man, I'm telling you, man, I'm so proud of you because as far as Latino, like I said before, one of the things that I like to like as far as like, we're Latin Evolution Radio, and we're trying to reach everybody in town, not just Latinos. Everybody said, well, this is a Latino radio station, but we're not really. We're reaching everybody, Anglos, Asians, Jewish. We don't really care where you come from, African Americans, we want to empower everybody. Everybody have a chance to grow. And I seeing you, as a minority, being a GM of a big store, the oldest 4 store in the whole world. It's, I feel really proud, really proud to have you like here in my show, and telling us the story, like it's all about the consistency of everything. What is the secret of success for David Rodriguez, really?
Oh, that is another long question to answer, but
I know I give you a lot of questions before.
No, it's good because I hope that if there's a message that that people take away from this, that this is what it is. Here's the true secret to success. Like, if I could bottle it up and put it, he's sitting up on the couch listening real closely. You are going to have to work your ass off.
Wow.
There are no free lunches. You are going to have to work for it. And you got to want it too. And it can't just be today. You can't tell people, I want it.
But how do you find that passion? Because, for example, you're passionate of the car business because you like the car business. You're in the car business, you're GM. How do you find your passion? Like, for example, like you were in the industry, you wanted to be a finance man, wanted to be in finance, but then you decide to go to the car business. How do we find, because right now I talk to so many people that tell me like, I want to be an EMT, I want to be a cop, but then at the same time I want to study finance, but at the same time I don't know if I want to be an engineer. How do you find your passion? How do you find your niche? How do you find your niche, David?
I think that depends on the person. You have to find something that you're interested in, but you got to be willing to go all in. You can't just start something and not be half there. You know what I mean? And I'll give you an example. My wife, she's amazing, right? Like the most organized person I've ever met. And she knew that she wanted to be a teacher since she was she's getting this wrong, but 4 or 5 years old. Like
Oh,
she
wow.
knew as a little kid that she wanted to be a teacher. And I was like, that's really cool. Like most people don't have that, right?
Yes,
Most
exactly.
people don't have that vision. She knew it. She, did really well in high school. She got 1 A- and just missed being valedictorian, straight A's through college, right? And she had her pass set on being a teacher. And it's funny because we were talking about, I've talked to a couple of different people about this, but I talked to her. I said, how many resumes did you have to send out before you got hired as a teacher? I said, was it like 20, a couple dozen, 25? She's like, yeah, like 100. Like, it was different back then, right? Back then, you had to just take any job you could. It's a different job market today because the person that's looking for a job right now they go to 7 interviews, they get 7 offers.
Yes.
And they can go do whatever they want, right? And if it's like, hey, I came in on day 2, this is hard, they can go back to say, well, that other job seemed easier, right? Well, you're not going to be successful with that mindset. So you have to, again, mindset, you got to change your mindset. You really have to be motivated to be successful at something. Again, take pride in what you do. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. There's going to be really hard days. There's going to be days where you come home. There's days that I come home that I fall down on the bed and I'm just exhausted, right?
Yeah.
And there's days that I come home and I got the music up and I'm dancing in the garage and I come home and I twirl my kids around and, and there's everything in between. But that's because I love what I do. And sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's easier, but it's called work for a reason. I know Zay and I have had this conversation before, but they don't call it, hey, I'm going to get up tomorrow. JC, tomorrow I'll see you at fun, right?
Yes.
I'll see you at fun. We'll be at fun tomorrow at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, all right? No, we're going to be at work tomorrow.
Yes.
So there has to be a work ethic that's in there too, that you have to be willing to do what it takes to be successful. Again, you have to be willing to put the work ethic in, or put the work in and have good work.
And it's success, one of the things that I want to touch base to, success is not about the color of your skin or where you come from. If you come from China, Asia, anywhere anywhere in the world, it's about the hard work. Is that right? Because you have Irish, have Latino, and you're a successful guy. You're at the end of the story.
So another conversation I've had with people. So a big thing for me is I always try to empower people. I want people to be successful. I would love to train the next person to take on a job. Right now I'm reading a book called...
Thank you, David. I know you're training me right now.
I want to get this right because if anybody picks this up, I want to be able to take it. But I am reading a book right now called Multipliers. It's by Liz Wiseman. So what it talks about, I was lucky enough to have a mentor in the car business that was a multiplier. So what multipliers are is that they train people underneath them. They're such great leaders that they promote everybody underneath them to be just as good or better than them, right? They are so good at being a leader, trainer, motivator, developer that the people that are around them end up being very successful at what they do. So that's what I'm striving for, is to people what at the time my mentor did for me, right? He let me in. He gave me I asked questions I had no business asking that he answered, right? About financial statements or how does this work or how does that work? I've always been a curious person, and he was super patient, answered all the questions. So I'm trying to, help people go down that path. And one of the things I was training on is being positive, having that positive mindset, having the ability to work hard. There was something else in there. I lost it right now that we were talking about.
No, but at the same time, one of the things you're talking about baseball too, you think something that I always like to say too, is like some of us, we had the opportunity to get to the diamond and we focus on the crowd and we lost the ball.
Yeah.
And we don't hit the ball. What do you think is that? Because we focus on the crowd so much, and we don't hit the ball, and we miss all the time because why do you think is that with our society nowadays, that we cannot accomplish like big things in life, like happiness and the family, and we lose the main things in life, that is hit the ball. That's what you were hired for.
So I'm going to just take a step back from it because I lost it there, but I remember it. So trying to develop and train people. So being invaluable to your company. How do you make yourself invaluable to you? How do you make yourself undeniable? Right? There's another book. It's called Relentless by Tim Grover. Tim Grover was Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade's trainer. He's got a great book out there called Relentless. And that'd be another question I'd ask people is, what book are you reading right now? Because you should always be trying to get yourself better. And there's a lot of great books out there that are self-motivating and help you focus on things in your life that are negative and helping you turn them to a positive. But being relentless, having that relentless pursuit, having drive and motivation for something, and making yourself invaluable to the company. If you make, or to your nonprofit, or to your church, or to your whatever it is, make yourself invaluable so that people or the organization says that we don't want to do this without you, right? That is where success comes from, right? And I think that there's so many shiny things out there to see. Now it's back to what you're asking. There's so many shiny things out there. There's so many, the fancy cars, the drip.
They call them the crowd.
They taught me that word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got enough gray hair underneath here. He taught me that word. But you focus on that stuff, and they're not looking at the ball. You're 100% right. They're not looking at the ball. And I follow that. What's that kid that I asked everybody what they do for a living when they drive those really nice cars? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Daniel Mack.
Yeah, that guy. Okay, so have you ever looked at the average age of those kids or those drivers of those vehicles?
No.
Yeah, they're old people.
Yeah, they're all super.
Yeah, of course. I've seen the videos. Yeah,
Like you have
they're
time.
60s, 65 and 70. Yeah,
You have time to pay attention to the crowd and wave and shake hands and have the flash bulb when you're retired. Okay. In the meantime, you gotta, play the game, hit the ball. Because if you don't hit the ball, you're not going to be in the stadium to see the crowds and to have that thing, right? So you really have to focus on your job. Just like today, I was talking to my wife. I'm like, God, I really don't like talking about myself. This is going to be tough for me, because it's not. I don't necessarily feel like I've done anything significant. I appreciate you saying that, but for me, it's just been a path that I've constantly put my head down and tried to drive towards. And there's still more goals. I'm not done yet. There's still plenty more that is hopefully on the horizon soon that I'm working on and trying to get towards. But again, you have to have goals. You have to watch that ball. I'm not paying attention to the crowd. I don't care that there's a crowd there, right? Most of your great athletes won't care about the crowd. They're caring about the sport because they know that if they do well in the sport, the rest will come. I heard a dentist once tell a student at the University of Minnesota, he said, do good work and the money will come. And I think that's a great message. Do good work, make yourself invaluable to the company, be a team player, have a positive attitude, and that's, success in whatever form that's important to you will come from that.
No, and it's it's now that you say, like, when you told me with your wife that I don't have a story behind me, and I don't really think that's completely true because when I hear the story, I don't like talking about my story, but the reason why I wanted to bring you here is because as a minority, and I don't really want to focus on that right now, because I do believe we like we talked to say earlier, it's about melting pot, it's about all together, and being one as a nation. But it's good to empower, so does some of the minorities, when they don't, for example, when I see my brothers and sisters, Mexico, from Ecuador, from Argentina, anywhere, like my friends from America, anywhere you come from, and sometimes you don't feel like, gosh, man, do I really am part of that? Do I really have a chance to be like a GM or be successful or drive a nice car? And and then when they see somebody like you, they're wondering, like, it's like how he did it, how he made it up there. And you coming here to the show and telling us, it's a lot of hard work. I remember my old boss, David Moss, you tell me, like, you have to be there, you have to be, your consistency. It's about consistency, JC, and you have to be right there at the right time because the opportunity will come and you will have to take it. You will have to jump and take the opportunity because it will come to you if you prepare yourself. When you're ready to hit that ball, you will hit it and you will have a home run.
Well, and you make
is that right?
Point. Yeah, absolutely. Because one of the things that me and you talked about, at work while we're working, right, was sticking it out. That's another thing to some of the younger people, right now. I've looked at thousands of resumes, right? And I've gotten so good at it that I can literally I can glance at a resume and they're all these recruiters, college people.
You're such a coach, man. You're such a coach.
They'll all tell you that they're going to make a decision about your resume in the first 10 seconds.
Yeah.
They are right. But what I don't care about is what paper it is. I don't care what color it is, right? I care about what I'm looking at is time on the job.
Damn.
I'm looking at how long have you been at your current job for? How long were you at your last job for? How long were you at the job before that, right? I do look for education. It's not that important, but it's good information to have. I was once told, and I believe it, I fully believed it when I heard it, that, a 4-year degree doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't really mean anything because I shouldn't say that. That sounded wrong. So there's a lot of people that have marketing degrees or English studies degrees or whatever degrees that they are that come and work in the car business, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be successful people, but it is a characteristic that shows you that they have committed 4 or 5 years of their life to something that they succeeded at, right? So again, you can also do that with job time. So if you've been at your last company for 7 years and now you're looking to make a change, I'm much more willing to take a second look at that, go, whoa, hang on, 7 years. That's okay. I'm interested, right? But when I see those jobs that are like 3 months here, 4 months there, 1 year here, 16 months there, I don't want to invest my time, effort, resources into somebody that's just going to bail on me, right? So back to what you're saying is that stability is super important. Like you need to wait for your turn. Like it happens. I know that a lot of the younger people, and I was the same way when I was younger, so I'm not like bashing any generations or anything like that. But a lot of people come out of college or into the working force and think that they should have what their parents have, right?
Yes.
Well, my parents didn't have that. My parents started at the very bottom. We struggled when we were growing up, but they never gave up. They never stopped working. I don't remember my mom always had a job. My dad had a couple of different jobs, but I don't remember him not having a job for long. And if he did, he was constantly circling the ads and constantly interviewing. And
in the newspapers back in the days. Yes. They had a Facebook, but
it's that white and black thing.
Yes.
Light paper. Yeah. So, but it was never an option to just hang out at home. So I think that's super important is that you put your time in. You have to put your time in. Find something that you enjoy, something that maybe you don't love it yet, but put yourself into it. Go all in. Make yourself invaluable to the company. Make yourself an asset, right? You look at some of these Walmart greeters, you think of a Walmart greeter, right? Well, how about that one Walmart greeter that made national news because everybody in town loves him? He knows everybody's first name. It's Earl in Kansas or whatever it is.
Yes.
But he knows like 50 people by first name when they come in. Hey, Gladys, how's your grandson doing? Like, yeah, you think that guy hasn't gotten a couple bumps in his salary from somebody at their corporate office because he's invaluable to that company now, right?
Of course,
So I don't care if you're a Walmart greeter, if you're a general manager, if you're a lab technician, if you're work at a plant, anywhere, make yourself invaluable to the company. Be a positive person at work. Be a team, somebody that you can team can count on, and be patient because somebody at some point will recognize. And
that's nice.
Yeah, it does happen, and it doesn't matter what. I don't feel like, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some situations that I haven't seen that I haven't been a part of. In my experience, that is not my ability to be invaluable to the company. Luckily, I've worked for companies that haven't cared about the color of my skin or my last name.
No, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really nice too, because nowadays, a lot of people struggle with that too. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. And it's just we have to break the mold and say, what, we're gonna, at the same time, you have to have the mentality to win too.
So, and I would say that for those people that feel that way, just take a look at some of the history books. All right, look back at like Jackie Robinson. It's probably the best example of that. Broke the color barrier in baseball. There's people that wouldn't play with him on his team.
Oh, I remember
I'm
that.
gonna quit. I'm not playing with you. And the guy went out there and he put his head down and he balled out. Right?
Yes.
And he just showed everybody why he belongs in that league, and he changed people's minds. Going, okay, it doesn't matter what the guy looks like. It matters how he can play ball.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So I think that for the most part, I would hope that there's companies and organizations out there that feel the same way.
You're talking about Jackie Robinson, talking about Shakira, like who haven't moved the hips like Shakira? Shakira teach everybody the hips. So like I know Isaiah from Save the Shade Show, he moved the hips last week. Yeah. So he learned from her. I want to give some shout out to everybody who's watching us right now tonight. Kari Gonzalez, Lil Liz, how you doing? Cole, my buddy Cole from Team 44, guys. Cole, what's up, bro? I'm telling you, man. Cole, what's going on there? Come on, say hi to Cole. Thank you for watching, man. I really appreciate that, man.
Hey,
Rocio, gracias. Christian, too, man. Christina, thank you so much, too. And everybody who's connected right now. I'm telling you, it's been a blessing to have David here. And I feel really humble, like I said before, too. And if you're looking for a house, I'm telling you right now, guys, you have to call Delgado Team Realty. They're the number one. Stop renting, guys. I'm telling you, it's the wrong investment. In fact, it's not an investment. Put your money in your own house, own it. Call Delgado Team Realty at 612-578-9762. And if you're looking for insurance too, for your car, for your house, and your kids too, for life insurance too, you have to call Pro Seguros también. Diego Cardoso al 876-8076. Déjame decirte algo también. Bájate la aplicación ahora de Latin Evolution Radio. Estamos aquí conectados, prendidos aquí con mi gran amigo, mi jefe también de 1044, donde podemos conseguir cualquier tipo de vehículos, ¿no? A David Rodríguez, señoras. Déjame decirte que estamos teniendo un show fascinante, increíble, un momento fascinante porque realmente estamos dándote las herramientas adecuadas para poder crecer en tu organización. So I'm telling you right now, what I was saying, David, too, is like, I'm with you right now, and you're giving us the tools, to grow in your organization, to grow in your business, man. I'm telling you, and I'm really happy to. John, how you doing, John? What's up, too, man?
Are we done already?
No, we're not done.
Okay,
we're live, man. We're live. We're live. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm just finally getting into it. I was
yes. We just get guys. We're just getting here round one, guys. Live at 612-406-6632. I'm telling you right now, download the app too right now. And right now here with David Rodriguez too, and my buddy Say too, right in the back there. Say hi too. Hey, what's going on, man? What's going on here? I'm telling you, man. He's home too, and we're so happy to have David Rodriguez here too in Latin Evolution House, guys. I'm telling you, man. And David, like tell me about the days because I know you like to coach. How do you coach your team from 1044? I know you have a lot of people under you. I know you have to empower a lot of people every single day. How do you manage that? In every single day, like what is the key of empowering them, everybody? Because I know you empower me every Saturday when I have to meet you too. But what else do you do? I know you read a lot. What is the key of that?
Yeah, it's about 100 people. It's pretty close to 100 people at the store, and it's really just giving people a chance to be themselves, right? Like again, bring in Zay, right? It was you do you, right? Yeah. Every day it was coming in the door and hi, good morning to people. How you doing? Good morning. How was the weekend, right? Zay, it's my man. Because I wanted to bring that out in him. Like in this business, you have to be yourself. You have to make friends with your customers because number one, if it's bullshit, they're gonna. Can I swear?
No, you can say whatever you want. Yeah, we don't lie here.
I hope my kids aren't watching. I don't think my kids are ever here. Oh, no. My wife will tell you they already sort of. But I don't think that's true. Where were we at? Letting people be themselves, right? Like I've worked at stores before where it's like, here's your model, here's your, right? Like you walk in a Target and then you're a cashier there. I'm just using this as an example.
That's fine.
Like, here's your guide. This is how you do cashier, right? And make sure you wear your red shirt. Don't you dare show up in a blue shirt, right? And I'm like, I don't want to be that rigid because I don't think people like that. Like there are companies and stores out there like that and they're successful, but I really feel like we are honestly trying to give a customer a different experience than what they've gotten at every other store that they've ever been to. So how can we do that if we have some stale, robotic? I had to memorize. I think I still, if I really tried, I think I could do a concept from a store that I worked at in the past because it was burned into my brain and everybody said it the same way every time. I don't want to do that, right? I would rather have our staff our customer-facing staff have relationships with their customers because those relationships are what's going to build those customers for life. CFL is a big thing at our stores. Customer for life. I don't know which one of the 1040s. Cole, 5th generation. I think he's 5th. I think Mike's 4th. Fifth generation 1040 working at the store. One of his great uncles or something invented customer for life, right? So, but it's a great principle because it's like, hey, we need to make customers for life. How do we do that? Our customer-facing employees should have the ability to be themselves and be able to have the latitude to be able to take care of their customers. If they say, hey, you know what, this customer came in for an oil change, it took an hour and a half, and we were supposed to have it done right away, but a bolt broke, and you know what, I feel really bad. Is it okay if I give them 10% off? Is that okay? Oh, yeah, what are you asking me for? Absolutely. Is he okay with that? Yeah, that'll make him really happy. We'll make him happy, right? Like, so I want people, customer-facing employees, to be empowered to do that. Non-customer-facing employees, I try to do what I can to make their lives easier, right? Like, how do I take the stress off the support staff or our technicians? We got a big push right now to try to make a big change in the shop for the technicians. I think everybody knows at this point, but we're hopefully getting air conditioning in the shop. Like that's
nice. Yeah.
A lot of shops don't have air conditioning.
Correct.
So, but the principle of it came is like, these guys are out here. It's physical work, and it's hot, it's muggy. And last year, in a nice way.
You want to give it like a Ferrari feeling?
Yeah,
I've seen all those Ferrari.
Yeah, it's like an oven, right?
Yes,
it's
of course, yes.
When in the technicians place, place. It's really hot. But last year it was like, hey, yeah, we got a cooler with some waters for the guy last year. I told one of the guys jokingly, like, hey, if I see one of these coolers without ice and Gatorade in it, you're not gonna work here anymore. I'm just kidding, Dave. You'll work here, but please make sure that they have these guys have ice cold Gatorades. Like, there's no reason they shouldn't be able to just, if they want to go dunk their head in a bucket of ice, right? Like, it's that hot in the shop sometimes. So how we make their lives easier, how we make them more productive, how we retain more of those employees. And I've been spending a lot of time in our service department trying to refine processes. How can we take the load off of this person to try to, separate it out between other people? So, at 1044, that's what I do. I try to clear the path for other people to be successful. I try to remove the barriers that are in front of them from holding them back so that they can be themselves and, be successful. And ultimately take great care of our customers and build our customer base.
One of the things I want to ask you too, Dave, and I want to go to all the topics too, is like going through our nation right now, everything that we're going through right now as a nation, we're suffering in so many angles, not blaming anybody right now, it's like, if you were the president of the United States, what would you do right now to make changes right away?
I would quit the job immediately.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no
you would have that
interest.
How would you empower
politics.
our nation with the practices you have to encourage us to move out with the basics that make this nation great?
Well, it's history books, you guys. Like, again, look at I love the History Channel. It's one of my favorite shows. Excuse me. It's one of my favorite channels. I'm a history not buff, I don't think, but I'll wake up I'm a terrible sleeper. I'll wake up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll just get into like a Wikipedia page about something, about some medieval war in England and 1500, and then I'll go down this rabbit hole and I'll look and it'll be 5:25.
That's the Irish in you?
I don't know. My alarm's gonna go off in 20 minutes. I'm like, oh my god, and then I try to go back to sleep quick, and I'm like, I better not. So I stay awake, and I've been up since 3, and it's a mess, right? But if you look back at history of this country, like what really made this country great, was it ever really that great? I think it was. Okay. And you go back to whatever is your favorite decade, whatever you want. Again, not getting political.
Yes, of course.
It's not my style. But when you look back at what are supposedly the golden years of 50s, right? When a lot of stuff was happening, you look at like after World War II, when, the stock market collapsed, and then we have to rebuild this economy around World War II. A lot of public projects went into effect, the interstate system, the Hoover Dam, right? Like you look at all these things, and you look like, well, what is that really? Is that the money being spent, or is it the hard work, right? So when you bring it back down to the basic principle of what has made this country successful, it's the hard work of the people. And it's the same thing that will be in your job, that'll be in my job, that'll be in that person's job, that'll be in her job, that'll be in their job. It's the same thing that's going to be in my kid's job, okay? A thing I worry about is that my kids are growing up a lot softer than I did. A lot softer than I did, right? I didn't have a horrible upbringing at all. I was a happy kid. I was loved by my parents. But, things got a little rough. Like my dad did not have a dad growing up, so he didn't have an example of what a dad should be. He did the best he can. I think he did a good job. But things got a little rough, right? Like my kids are growing up a little bit soft. They're growing up different. They don't get, they don't get the belt. Right?
Do you think that's going to affect us? Because I know a lot of people say, like, a lot of people listening right now too. I know a lot of them right now online saying like, my younger generations, like my kids and stuff like that, who they have to like yours, like my wife was, she's Anglo too, and I said that, I got 3 kids too. They 3 are, they look like half too like yours.
Like
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see them growing up. To see both. Like kind of you too. But the thing is that they, I heard so many stuff online say like, this weak generation. The weak generation. What do you think about that? It's like,
I don't think I think they're smart. I think they were forced to be smarter than us. They have to be smarter than us, right? Just because they get technology. My kids are playing with iPads at 2 years old, right? Does that make them smarter? Not necessarily, right? But they're gonna evolve within their environment. They're gonna be fine. My father-in-law actually is the one that told me this. He said, I remember being younger, I think he even quoted Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson said, I don't know about this next generation coming, right? Everybody says.
Of course, yes.
Like my dad's parents said it about him. My dad said it about us. We say it about the next generation. But the difference, when I talk about like soft and growing up a little bit rougher, right? Like this is a good thing. But what is more important, and we talked about this before, is the foundation of family. Like that is so important. So many of my life lessons and so much of even this conversation today, how many times have I held my hand up and talked about my dad's lessons today?
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
I'm doing this on purpose so that people know that every time I talk about one of my dad's lessons, I hold my hand up. Is because I had that foundation as a kid. I had a dad that was there that cared, right? And he was there. He made a point to be there. He made a vow to himself that he wasn't going to not be there like his dad was. He told himself, and I remember him telling me this as a kid, as a really young kid. He said, someone has to break the cycle, Dave, and I'm going to be the person to do that. And you have to make sure that you break, this other cycle, right? Like you have to make sure your kids are better than you. I want to make sure you're better than me. And so that was a big, thing again that stuck with me is that this relationship with my kids, like I said, they're a little bit soft, but they're different. I have a really good relationship with my kids. I can talk to them. They're smart. I ask them questions. I lead them into things to make them go, right? Like it's a different kind of relationship where when we were younger, it's like, you grew up a little bit different. Like, hold that flashlight. You're moving it. I'm not moving it. Quit moving it. Okay, I'll quit moving it, right? Like, but it's different now. And I think that it's going to still be okay, though, because I know that I'm going to have that same relationship, if not better, relationship with my kids and my dad had with me, because that's what my dad wanted. He wanted me to have a better, my mom too. My mom passed away in 2017. So if I talk more about my dad than I do my mom, it's just because, it's been a little while since I've had one of her lessons, but there was a lot of hers too. My kids will be okay. My kids are going to be fine. They're going to figure it out. The kids that have the problem right now are the kids that are being enabled. Okay, this is another thing that people got to stop. I'm passionate about this. I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings. To stop fucking enabling your kids. Stop letting them sleep in your garage, sleep in the basement when they're 23 years old.
Right.
Hell no. It's time to get out, grow up, and get a job. I was told at a very young age that when you turn 18, you either go to college, or if you don't go to school, you get a job and you're paying rent. And if you don't do either one of those, you're going to the military.
Yes, I know that story. Yes, really well.
So I went to school. I did everything I could to go to school, and I was done with school. I got a job. I moved out at 18 because I knew it wasn't an option. It was not an option to be hanging out at home, chilling in the basement, playing Xbox until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, talking shit to 10-year-olds playing Call of Duty. That was not an option at my house. No way was that an option at my house. And people got to stop doing it. You're enabling your kids, right? And here's the thing. The other thing that's going to screw people up too is that you can't just all of a sudden stop it and change it at 23, right? That's how blowouts happen in families. You gotta pave the way as you go. Another lesson from my parents that they showed me that I'm showing my kids. I had a conversation with my kids the other day. Like, you guys are 18, you're out. Jay and your mom are gone. I don't know where you guys are going, but this house is sold.
We go to Florida.
Locks are changed, and if you come back here, we ain't gonna be here. So you better go to college. You better go get a job. You better go on your own because we're not gonna be here. Yeah. So I think that a lot of what I've seen with the younger generation, that have the problem, are the ones that are enabled to have a safety net. They have somewhere else to go. They don't have to figure out what they're gonna love to do for the rest of their life because they have a safety net of being able to go home and chill on the couch in the basement. And that is unfortunate. But you can't stop it at 23, right? Like right now, if you got a 12 or 13, you better start having that conversation with them. You better start having that conversation with them because you will make them more successful. The things that drive you nuts about your kids right now today, if you do it correctly, will be the things you're most proud about them when they get older. Damn. So right now, set the tone to not let them freeload off you when they're in their 20s, because if they will, if you give them the opportunity. They go to the job, right? Whatever job it is, they go in there and go, it's hot. They go out for lunch and never fucking come back.
Oh, I've seen many of those.
It happens.
Many of those have seen it.
We've had it happen in our store.
Right? Yeah. All the time.
I don't know where these people's situations are, but I'd be willing to wager, right? A gentleman's handshake on a lunch or something like that they're going back to their mother-in-law's place or their mom's or dad's place. They got some couch somewhere that they can chill on because they don't have to make money. Exactly. They don't have to struggle to survive. They don't have to suck it up and get to work because you don't have another choice. Yes. Right? Your other choice is you go live on the streets. It's really cold in the streets of Minnesota.
And believe me, I tell you, man, when you that's something that was like you would say earlier too. When we go struggle, when you struggle, man, you learn a lot of things, man.
Oh, I got a great quote for you.
You know what I mean?
Larry Ellison. He's the founder of Oracle, right? Multi-billion-dollar company. The guy's
the Oracle,
top 5 richest people in the world.
Exactly, like yes.
Right? He has an amazing quote that when I heard it, it just reverberated with me. and me and you talked about this. I looked it up in front of you. Remember, you're in my house.
Yes.
He said I had all the disadvantages to be successful, meaning that he didn't have the couch to go kick it on when the thing didn't work out. Right? He came from the south side of Chicago. He had to get the fuck out of Chicago.
Exactly.
He needed to get out of there. He moved to California and he was like living with some friends or on the beach or whatever it was, but he had to make it work because he had nowhere else to go. And so when you have those disadvantages in life growing up, that, you know what, mom and dad don't have the beach house that I can just go live at, you know, take a year off, or just I'm gonna find myself after college, right? Like I didn't have that. Nobody fucking has that.
Yes.
I mean, there are some people that do. It's cracking Zay up here. There are some people that do, but those are not your most of your, you know. And again, everybody defines success,
Exactly.
and I don't expect everybody to define it by money. Okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs, you know, they had that struggle, right? They didn't come from money.
Yes,
They
you're right.
didn't come from, hey, you know, I have a whatever, go hang out at the beach house and try to develop your whatever, right?
Yeah.
You look at Steve Jobs and the Wads, right? They made the Apple computer in their garage. Bill Gates, even though he was dead, you know, to Harvard and his dad was whatever, like he still built that company from scratch, right?
Exactly,
There's
yes,
a lot
of
of
course.
people that had nothing, but that's the disadvantage that they had. The advantage and privilege, they'll do okay that you just squander it away and whatever, they have enough to burn if they want to, a bonfire, right? They'll be okay. But they usually aren't the ones that are impact. They're not the ones that make impacts. They're not the ones that make differences. The ones that make differences in the world are the ones that have enough disadvantages in their life that they have to force the change. They have to force success.
No, and you know what too? Like one of the things that I always tell people, like, you know, I came to the country with $7. You know, my dad told me like, I'm gonna pay your ticket to go to America, but you're gonna go whatever you have in your pocket. And I came here like that, and until I took the bus from the airport all the way to my uncle's house, and then he told me, okay, you're gonna work in a hotel. So that's how I went straight to work.
And you didn't have a
And
choice.
you didn't have a choice. At the same time, I was homeless one time because I wanted to understand the concept, and I was for a month eating bananas and, you know, taking showers. I paid for the gym, so I was taking showers. But that pain, I'm telling you, teach me how to grow and manage, you know, like so many things, you know. And I remember I was in the real estate business too, you know what I mean? Like a friend of mine, you know, I was in the car business and I met this guy who was in the real estate business. He told me, you can be good there too. So he put me in the real estate. I was a workaholic, working in the car business, working in the house business too. You know what I mean? I was making pretty good money when I was in Florida. You know what I mean? And be able to get all the stuff that I never had before, you know what I mean? But you're right, you know what I mean? It's the pain, you know, it's not a suffering, you know. Sometimes you have to go through that struggle to understand the gratitude, you know, that the good things are behind that. You know what I mean?
And you learn, you know, there's a stat out there somewhere, I'm sure, but you learn whatever it is 10 times as much when you fail as you do when you succeed.
Yes, you're right.
Thomas Edison, I think he failed at the light bulb like over 1,000 times before he finally made it.
Yes, and he said that he never failed. He did it 1,000 times.
He just learned he learned what the next step was.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, something like that. So when you look at a lot of these, you know, again, kind of going back to what we were saying, this younger generation, that the problem is that they have people enabling them, saying, that's okay. You'll get another job, or how about that other place? Maybe you'll like them better. Like again, it's got to be, go back to family. You know, we talked about that in the past. That family is something that's super important to me. That is the foundation of what's going to make people successful or not. Like you guys, you got to stop. Single moms and dads, they do a great job. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but the foundation of a family is important, right?
Wow.
My best friend is his mom was a single mom, right? And he is the nicest person you'll ever meet in your entire life. When I met the guy, I was like, I need to have this guy has to be my friend. He makes me better, right?
Wow.
And he was raised by a single mom, so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but you know, that family foundation for me is what I keep going back to and looking at and saying, my mom told me about that when I was a kid. My dad told me that was going to happen. Oh, JC, right? Hey, let me give you a quote, right? And the quote I give you, or I tell you, I'll train you on something, or we're working on something, and I'll give you a different way to look at it. And it's something that my dad told me when I was a kid, right? So that family foundation, if it's single mom, single dad, it's okay, but you have to be present. And being present doesn't mean just being there with the kid sitting in the corner playing iPad, right? It means being involved with the kid, reading to the kid, playing with them. I was out playing pickleball with my son until 10 o'clock last night. My wife was pitching softballs with my daughter in the dark as we're getting eaten by mosquitoes, right? Like it's not the amount of time that you spend with your kids, it's the quality of the time that you spend with your kids. But that's super important because your kids will grow up and be able to have that foundation of, this is what I learned from my parents, because they learned it from their mistakes. They're teaching me the best of what they know, right? And I was very fortunate enough to have parents that were very introspective and were able to share a lot of that with me and share with me the knowledge and the wisdom. Here's a quote from my mom. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you don't make the same mistake twice.
Wow.
Right?
That's amazing, man.
It's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from your mistake. You don't make the same mistake twice. That's how it
Wow.
goes. Right? So that was me. That was a kid that I wouldn't learn. My dad tried to coach me, tried to teach me stuff. I wouldn't listen to him. I had to learn the hard way. I always had to learn the hard way. But that was the path to getting better.
And that's where you at right now, man, because, you know, I mean, that those lessons, those life lessons, you know, man. David, I'm telling you, man, it was such an honor to have you here with
Yeah,
me.
man, it was fun.
You know, I mean, it was like, you know, like I said before, you know, I mean, I'm really proud of where you at right now, you know, as a Latino, as a, you know, me representing the Latino community, you know what I mean? Like, and, you know, when I told all my homies, all my buddies, you know what I mean, they were like, oh my gosh, man, you have a Latino GM there, and you know what I mean? I was like, yes, he's coming, you know what I mean? So I know it's a lot of people who's like seeing you as our hero, you know what I mean? And we're really proud of you, man. I know maybe it doesn't mean a lot for you, man, you know what I mean? But for us, it means a lot when we see somebody like in that position, you know what I mean? You know, it represents a lot for us, you know what I mean? Seeing you like, you know, manage is a big story, you know what I mean? The number one story, man, I'm telling you right now, man, the oldest story in Minnesota, not in the world, you know what I mean? In the world for Ford. And you know, I really feel proud of you, and I really thank you. You know, I mean, it's an honor for me to have you here, Latino Evolution Radio, man. This is your house. At any time, you can come here and visit us, man. You know, I know I'm gonna see you tomorrow too again.
Yeah, you better be on time. We gotta work.
I want to be on time, guys. I want to be on time right now. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody who is with us, I'm telling you, this is Latino Evolution Radio. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for communicating with us. You know, what I mean, like this is your house, guys, and this is round one. Take care again. This is JC Campos again. Take care, guys. Have a good night.
That was awesome.
That was awesome, Dave. Hey, man. Tell me out.
My wife told me I swore.